Chicago. Chicago. Listen, I have no clue. No clue whatsoever. What was Brandon Johnson doing before he decided to become mayor? What was his career? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what Brandon Johnson's career was? He had to be a preacher. If I had to guess, I would say that he was at the front of the congregation, Bishop Brandon Johnson or Pastor Brandon Johnson. Mm-hmm. And we got to become mayors. And we got to make sure we have representation in our legislative branches. Because we need to fix our neighborhoods. And if anybody is going to fix it, it's going to be us. Because, come on, we got to come on to the front of the congregation and make sure that we come on and have some representation inside of our legislative branches. I would guess that he had to be, the way that he articulates himself, honest to God, had to be a preacher. Shout out to preacher Brandon Johnson. You might have missed your calling. If you did not, make sure that you got your ordination into the Pentecostal Church of the Baptist Christ on the west side of Chicago. Tell them in Chicago. I'm just telling you, I think that Brandon Johnson had to be a part of the congregation before he became mayor. Somebody tell me, let me know in the chat. Somebody look it up. What did Brandon Johnson do before he became mayor of Chicago? I'm just curious. I'm genuinely. He was a social studies teacher? Wow. So he went from social studies to becoming the mayor of Chicago. Social studies to becoming the mayor of Chicago. He was a teacher and a union leader. Wow, y'all elected a teacher and a union leader to run y'all city. Impressive. Well, the people of Chicago are not so happy right now. The people of Chicago are not so happy right now. Make sure that you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Shout out to my people on Facebook. Make sure you hit a like. Also, tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let me tell you what's going on over in Chicago today. Now, you got to remember that the overwhelming majority of the clips that I'm using comes from I just have flooded down my timeline. Chicago, crime, issues, money, protests, tons of mace thrown in the air. Anything Chicago just hits my timeline right now. So I am very familiar with what's going on in Chicago. I was one of the first people that found out what was going on with Jussie Smollett. All right? This is what's happened in Chicago over the last 24 hours, all right?
Now to a fiery meeting on the northwest side tonight where violent robberies were way up.
Tonight, residents were invited to a town hall meeting to learn how local leaders are addressing the issue. Natalie Bomke is here with the fireworks.
And tonight, we have new video that's only going to add fuel to that fire. An attack happening just this afternoon in Bucktown in an alley at Damon and Armitage. Two crooks jumped a 33-year-old man just walking by and eating pizza. We stopped the video before the victim is sucker punched, then viciously beaten, kicked, and robbed.
In addition to the robberies, in addition to the gang fights, you cannot walk down the street in the daytime at 1 p.m. in any street, especially Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Look at all of those garbage cans perfectly lined up. Walking down the street, eating pizza. They come out and they start to beat the crap out of him, sucker punch him while he's eating pizza and mollywhopped him in Chicago. We know that it's happening over at the major universities. It's happening downtown. It's happening on every street. It's happening in the daytime and in the nighttime. And they keep telling us that these are just large gatherings. This is the type of, these are the issues. They got a migrant crisis, a budget shortfall, and a crime syndicate that is running rampant in the streets, that's just walking around and beating the crap out of people for no reason.
Fortunately, he was not seriously hurt. And now to tonight's community meeting on violence just like this. And residents have had enough.
Look at all them white people. Look at all them white people. I don't see not one brown skin. You know I love my brown skin. I don't see one brown skin person in that. Listen, you know one thing I know about my snow bunnies, my snow puppies, my snow hares. One thing about them snow bunnies and them snow hares, they gonna put on them reading glasses and they gonna be sitting in that audience and they're gonna come up with a solution as to how it is that we need to protect our communities. And when it starts to spill over into those communities, we're not having it. We're not having it. And I'm gonna be the first one at the forefront of the movement. I'm gonna be in there with the microphone on. Hey guys, we need to get more vigilant. What do we need to do? We need to take more proactive actions. We're going to have lookouts, watchtowers at the top. Anytime you see anybody that's not supposed to be here, if they look suspicious, we're going to profile them and we're going to call the police on them. I'm going to be the first person that's at the forefront of the movement. But I don't see one brown skin. You know I love my... Shout out to India.Arie. Shout out to the 90s early music, the R&B music. It was so dope.
The meeting began with shouting from residents. One man was ejected. It took place in Humboldt Park, an area adjacent to the 14th Police District that has reported a huge spike in robberies this year compared to last.
This will be one of many meetings that will... I understand it, and I want to respect how you're feeling. And
We got one with a fade that's controlling what's going on in the meeting in Chicago. That looked like the next mayor. Smooth face, greased on the forehead, looking like the new mayor. Looking like a new mayor out there.
Let's just focus on me. We don't need multiple people talking. All right? Are we okay?
The robberies have gone up quite a bit. I know most people here are because and concerned about these robberies. It's not just a 14th district problem. It's not a 25th district problem. It's citywide.
The residents are not calling the police, so that's a big issue.
Older people Daniel Espada and Jesse Fuentes, who hosted the meeting, pointed to Mayor Johnson's initiative to engage Chicago youth as a big part of the long-term solution. In the short term, they believe talking about the problem will make people feel safer.
What is this youth initiative? Where is it at? Where's this youth initiative where y'all gonna be walking around making sure that y'all tap into them at the picnics and making sure that they're not robbing anybody? And making sure that they're not... Where is this initiative that's supposed to be taking place over in Chicago when he said that, hey, listen, look, guys, listen, what we're going to do, and we're not going to call them thugs. These are just simply large gatherings. These are large gatherings that are happening across the board, and we need to engage our youth, not criminalize them. Meanwhile, the youth is over there beating the crap out of people that's walking down the street with pizza in their hand at the 1 o'clock in the afternoon when they supposed to be in school. Don't worry about it, Brandon Johnson. You got bigger things that you have to worry about. Let me show you.
Tonight, some more calls for transparency over exactly how much the city of Chicago is spending to care for and to house more than 14,000 migrants.
As aldermen demand more oversight, the city of Chicago has denied a request for more records from NBC5 Investigates. Bennett Haberly joins us now with more on that story. Bennett.
Marion and Stefan, for months we've been asking for more spending receipts like this since we first learned staffers working to care for migrants in the city billed the city of Chicago for anywhere between $135 to $200 an hour.
Hey, where can you go? Where is it that you can live at? What job do you need to acquire to where you can get $200 an hour? Hold on, give me a second. $200 an hour in order to make sure that you're helping and servicing the migrant crisis. At the end of the day, in my personal opinion, if you ever want to solve for a real problem, you need to just understand where the money is going. We're so busy distracted with the small fries that we're not really paying attention to what the heck is going on, to where who's over there making $200 an hour to help migrants. Just curious. I'm just asking a question, because when we start to break down the numbers, we need to understand what the heck is going on and who's going to profit as a result of what's happening as far as these sanctuary cities on an individual level. Because when you start to mine out the individuals, you start moving up the ladder and you start to uncover some very, very ugly things.
Since August of last year, the city of Chicago has paid a Kansas-based company, Favorite Healthcare Staffing, more than $57 million.
Let me rewind this for a second. I want you to get the full context. I don't want you to miss anything.
Last year, the city of Chicago has paid a Kansas-based company, Favorite Healthcare Staffing, more than $57 million.
So y'all not even pouring money and keeping the money within y'all own city and y'all own community. Y'all reaching out to a Kansas-based company since last year. The year ain't even over yet. Since late last year, y'all have been paying a Kansas, because remember, we're just now starting to uncover and figure out what the heck is going on with the migrant crisis. It's just now starting to hit the peak. It's just now starting to hit the radar. I've been killing this migrant crisis thing for a long time now. We just now really starting to have a conversation, right? 57 M's, 57 million since last year. Okay, let's continue.
The company, with the satellite office on the Northwest Side.
Hey, do that look like a $57 million since last year company from one person, from one source of business? Look. Does that look like that satellite office, right? They probably pay a good $400 a month for that satellite office. Does that look like a satellite office where people should be making? I'm just asking. Listen, I'm just asking a question. I do not have the answer to the question. I'm figuring it out just like you guys. And if I don't bring it back to the forefront of the congregation, who will?
Holds the contract to provide staffing for migrant shelters across Chicago. In an effort to follow how those dollars have been spent, NBC5 Investigates filed a Freedom of Information Act request asking for a year's worth of invoices. But this letter shows the city has denied our request as unduly burdensome.
I was not aware that you requesting information on behalf as a result of the Freedom of Information Act, that you can be denied additional invoices because it's unduly burdensome. I thought that you just had to go through the process, and however long it took in order to continue to get these paperwork out, you got to figure it out. I did not know that you had the ability to deny Freedom of Information Act requests because it's unduly burdensome to come up with the invoices that y'all sent over to the people. I'm just observing this just like y'all. Shout out to Chicago.
Noting there are 498 payment vouchers that require redactions, and that would take 124 hours of staff time, posing an immense burden. A burden so large, the city says,
it takes 120 something hours of staff time in order to produce 500 invoices and then redact the information that's not supposed to be in there. I'm just playing to you what's been played to me.
That it outweighs the public interest in the information. What's curious is that before this denial letter, the city already provided us with these two invoices, showing with overtime, a nurse at this High Ridge YMCA shelter earned $20,000 in a week.
I'm just sharing with you the information that's been shared with me. They provided two invoices. One nurse, for example, made over 20 bands working at the YMCA in 1 week at a rate ranging, based off of what I see right here, from $195 to $300 an hour, running up 12-hour shifts in 1 week. I'm sorry. Let me just say this. A nurse charged your city 20 bands in a week. Invoiced 20 bands in one week. 1 week. 1 week. 1 week. 20 bands, one nurse, 1 week.
During that same week last December, a shelter manager made $14,000.
This requires a great deal of attention, a lot more transparency. The fact that news organizations are only given 1 or 2 invoices when they've requested thousands of them, to me is unconscionable.
So here's my question. As we see this and as we go through this and as we have this conversation and crime is running rampant over in Chicago and people getting monkey pounded as they walk down the street in order to eat their pizza, and crime is, and all of you guys are out here protesting, and everybody is so focused on what everybody else is doing. And meanwhile, the staffing company has gotten over $57 million. This is just one person, or I'm sorry, one company since last year. Staffing company got over $57 million and growing since last year. And so no faces, no building, no administrators, no nothing, Kansas-based company. And they got over 57 million. Let me ask y'all this question, right? Why would anybody want to cut off this faucet? Why would anybody want to cut off the faucet? Why would you want to cut off a faucet like this? Listen, if we got to make sure that we use your tax dollars in order to bust them up here so that we can then bust down your tax dollars to the tune per person of 20 bands in 1 week, who would want to cut off that faucet? Let the water run. Take me to jail. Throw away the key. Why would anybody want to cut off the faucet for this? You know how many people is probably coming up on this? They had a projected $584 million budget deficit and growing for Chicago. Why would anybody want to cut off that faucet? How can we get more people in here? That's the question. How can we get more people in here? That's what I will be asking myself.
Alderman Brendan Riley represents the 42nd Ward. That includes the Inn of Chicago, a migrant shelter that now hosts more than 1,500 people. Riley is among a growing chorus of city leaders concerned about transparency with city spending.
The city council has a role in appropriating monies like this for programs like this, and the fact that we've all been left in the dark about the costs per hour for staff for these facilities, I think, is insane.
What we do know, with 498 payment vouchers totaling $57 million.
498 payment vouchers totaling $57 million, and this is just from one company since last year.
That works out to an average of $115,000 per invoice. When I asked Mayor Johnson last week about this perceived lack of transparency, he said this.
So let me just make sure that you're clear and everybody else is clear here. Every single Monday, there's a conversation with alders who are part of a working group. Every Friday, there's an email that is sent so all the alders could see it. We have released information providing the details of the fact that when we appropriated the first $51 million, I was the person that said that the vast majority of it went to staffing.
While
Do y'all see a problem here, or is it just me? Am I off? Am I off? Am I confused about something, or do y'all see a problem right here along with me? That is not an explanation. Who is getting rich? And where is the kickback money? Listen, if I'm making sure that you're getting $57 million in payments, somebody got to be greasing a palm over here, homeboy. You over there in Kansas getting 57 million since last year, and we ain't even done with the year. Yeah, where my Christmas gift? I need something. I need a lot. I need Range Rovers. I need BMWs. I need a Swiss bank account. I need some. Somebody gonna be greasing my palm somewhere. Y'all not gonna just be over there making $57 million and we gonna be over here talking about migrant crisis and that's the end of the conversation. We not gonna be running this city into the ground by ourselves. No, I'm gonna need to get paid too. Where they at though? Where they at? Listen, if you gonna do something, you might as well go big. You might as well go big. If you gonna do something, then you might as well go all the way big. If y'all gonna bankrupt the city, bankrupt it gloriously. If you gonna run up a budget deficit of more than $500 million, let's run it up. Let's run it up. Where is the money? And why am I not getting any of it? And why do I not have a Swiss bank account somewhere? Now, I'm not saying that anybody is doing this. I'm saying that that's the question that I will be asking if I just so happen to be a part of the administration and is doing a person that's doing a transfer back and forth, and I keep seeing transfers going back and forth. I need to understand where the hell is the money going and why I ain't getting none of it, and how can I then become a part of the administration and become a part of this gold mine that we have. We have a walking gold mine of people walking across the border, and over there the staff and company and services. Do I need to start a company and then go over there and do it too? Do we need to pull up to Chicago and say that we want to make a bid? I just want to know, how can I participate in the growth and the success of the migrant crisis at the behest of the taxpayers? That's all I want to know.
Copies of two recent Alderman briefings obtained by NBC5 Investigates do reference upcoming contracts and migrants' needs. They do not show specific information on dollars spent.
I just want to know how I can do the same thing. We playing a wrong game. We over here working hard, working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, putting in the hours, trying to make sure we feed our families. Y'all on the picket lines, protesting and striking, trying to get your 32 to 35 to 37, 30, yeah, 40, 50. And we over here, and they over here just busting down the 57M. 57 M's, 57 M's, got my 57 M's. They's probably running it up. What the hell is going on out here? So you telling me migrants are the new assets? I'm going to follow the money. I'm going to keep bringing Chicago to the front of the congregation until we get some answers over here in these